Okay. So in grade 12, we do inverse functions. And what an inverse function is graphically, when you look at it, is it is a reflection of a graph in the line y is equal to x. Okay, so let's say I have an exponential graph that goes like this. Then I use that purple line as a little mirror, and then the inverse function of that will look like this. So graphically, an inverse function is where you use that purple line and you reflect your function in that. Okay, ons gaan nog baie hieroor praat. As dit kom by algebra, so die skryfwerk, gaan jy letterlik gaan en die y gaan omruil met 'n x. So you're going to change the x in your formula to a y, and you're going to change the y to a x. And I almost want to say it is as simple as that, but it is not as simple as that, but it is close to as simple as that. Okay. Another thing that you have to know is if we call this one f of x, so as ek my exponentiële grafiek f noem, then you call the inverse of that f to the power of -1. Okay, en dis wat hulle hier vir jou by die eerste ene sê. As f hierdie punt het, so if f is the point -5 and 2, -1 and 4, and 4 and 6, then when I swap them around, do you see the x value becomes the y value? So hierso was die x waarde -5, nou is die y waarde -5. Hier was die y waarde 2, nou is die x waarde 2. So what did I do? I simply switched them around. En ek gaan doen dit vir elke een van hierdie punte. Maar nou noem ek daai versameling van koördinate die inverse van f. And to say inverse, you're going to say f to the power of -1. Graad 12 dis baie belangrik, want wanneer ons by calculus uitkom, gaan ons werk met afgeleides. So dan het jy f van x, en dan het jy f dash x, en f double dash x. This is not the same as that. 'n inverse funksie is tot die mag 1. 'n afgeleide is net 'n streepie. Okay. But I'll repeat that when we start with calculus. Okay. Dan sê hulle vir jou by die tweede sterretjie, om 'n inverse funksie te kry, moet die x en die y waardes omgeruil word. Dit het ek klaar vir julle gesê. So met ander woorde, as y gelyk is aan x plus 5, and that is f. So, what is that? What is that? What graph? What is that? It's a straight line, okay? So the equation of this straight line, which we call f, is x plus 5. And you know how to draw that, né? Daar 'n gestygende lyn, hy sny die y-as by 5, wow, né? Dan gaan sy inverse funksie wees that. Do you see? What did I do? I swap the x and the y around. Maar, en dit behoort julle al te weet, wanneer ons grafieke teken, moet y altyd die onderwerp wees. Right? The y is on its own, on the left-hand side of the equation. Yes? And that's just what they did there. Okay, so in this case, you would have written f of x is equal to x plus 5, and the inverse of f is equal to x minus 5. Don't be confused, you can't always just change the plus 5 to a minus 5. Is that what you wanted to ask?
So it's just, so it's not the opposite sign, basically.
No, it's not. You still have to get the y on the left-hand side. En sien julle, dan skryf ek net in plaas van dat ek skryf y is gelyk aan x minus 5, skryf ek die inverse van f is x minus 5. You swap the x and y, and then you manipulate it to get the y on its own. You don't swap it back. You move them around so that the y is on its own. Okay, good. This is important. If you go and substitute the point 1 into this, then 1 plus 5 is 6. So do you agree that the point 1 and 6 is on F? Then by definition, the point 6 and 1 will be on its inverse function. And you can do that for any point. So let's substitute a 2 in there. Do you agree that the point 2 and 7 will be on F? How do I get the 7? I just said plus 5. Then by definition, this will be a point on the inverse function. Woo! Okay, kom ons maak dit 'n bietjie moeiliker. You swap them around. Okay, goed. Ek gaan gou hierdie ene wat op die voorbeelde is net saam met julle deurwerk. So hulle sê vir jou, jy het hierdie funksie f van x is gelyk aan 2x plus 3. Straight line, né? Yes. Okay. Now they ask you write down the formula of the inverse function of f. Goed. So skryf hom eers vir jouself neer as y is gelyk aan 2x plus 3. I haven't started doing the inverse yet. Sien julle, ek het net in plaas van f van x geskryf y, want dit is iets waarmee ek kan werk. Now I'm only starting with the inverse. What do we do when we get the inverse? You swap, né? So I'm going to say x is gelyk aan 2y plus 3. Sien julle? Ek het net my x en my y waarde omgeruil. But now you need to get y on its own. So nou skuif ons net rond. Nou sê ons dit beteken daar is x minus 3 is gelyk aan 2y. Met ander woorde, y is gelyk aan 1 op 2x minus 3 op 2. Or you could have written this part as x over 2. Sien julle, ek kry net vir y alleen. But how do we write this? We write the inverse of x will be equal to a half x minus 3 over 2. Die antwoord is daar op julle bly. Maar dit is hoe ons hom gekry het. Eens kyk hoe laat lê die klok. Okay. Ek gaan nog aangaan, al kan ek sien julle kan nie meer konsentreer nie. Maar ek gaan nie meer vir lank aangaan nie. Okay, good. So that's an easy one because a straight line is a one-to-one function. Yeah.
Is it done with binomial?
Huh?
Like, is this concept done? Can it also be done with binomial?
Yes. But not this year.
How is it? We can never do it.
If you carry on with maths.
Not this year. Next year.
I mean, it could be. Maar ons sal maar nie sê dat van julle volgende jaar nie gaan wees nie. But then you also will not be doing it. Okay, goed. So as ons gaan kyk na 1 tot 1 funksie. So let's say you have a straight line. That's a one-to-one function. And I mirror it in that line. Then it looks like this. I hate these. Something like that. Okay, as ek hom gaan spieelbeeld in daai blou lyn. And do you see that this is still a function? Kyk, sien julle, hy sny oral my blou grafiek net een keer. Okay, so the inverse of a one-to-one function is still a function. But if I have a parabola which I then mirror in that y is equal to x, then it forms this. And is that a function? No. Stimulus saam, dis nie 'n funksie nie. Want as ek my lineaal so gaan sit, dan sny hy hom 2 keer. Okay. And to take care of that, we are going to limit our original function. So you're going to look at the parabola and you're either going to focus on this part for which x is bigger than 0, or you will focus on this part for which x is smaller than 0. Want dan is dit 'n 1 tot 1 funksie. So then if you look at it, let's say we're looking at that one, then we're ignoring this. Do you agree that that arm of the parabola is a one-to-one function? So then the inverse of that will also be a one-to-one function. It will look like this. Okay. Or let's say we're looking at the negative arm. Can't really say negative arm, but I mean for negative x values. Oh my word. Sê nou maar kyk na daai en ek reflekteer hom in hierdie as, dan gaan sy inverse so lyk, which is also a one-to-one function. Okay, but we'll get to those in more detail later. This year, as in not next year, you will only be doing parabolas that are on the origin. So we're not moving them up or down. Okay, so they will only be there. Okay, I'm going to